It started out innocently enough. At least, that's what I kept telling myself. My husband had been traveling more than usual, flying off to conferences, staying late at offices in cities I'd never even visited. After a while, I stopped asking questions. The silence became easier than the answers. Then his son moved in. My stepson, back from college, taking a semester off to, in his words, recalibrate. I didn't mind. He was quiet, respectful, kept mostly to himself, at least in the beginning. We kept our distance. I was more like a distant aunt than a stepmother, and that was just fine for both of us. But having someone else in the house again disturbed the stillness I had grown so used to. I started noticing things. The low thump of music from his room, the sound of footsteps late at night, the fridge being raided at 2 a.m. little reminders that another living, breathing person was under the same roof. One evening, after a long day alone, I walked past his room and paused. The door was slightly ajar. I should have kept walking, I know that now, but I didn't. What I heard was unmistakable. Moaning, breathy whispers, words I couldn't quite make out. I thought maybe he was watching something inappropriate, or worse, that he had someone over. I leaned in just enough to catch a glimpse through the sliver of light. He was alone, but not idle. Shirtless. Phone propped up. Talking to someone. Doing things. Bold. Careless. Almost like he wanted to be seen. I froze, not from shock, but from something I didn't want to name. Then I backed away quietly, heart racing, unsure of why I felt the way I did. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying it, not the act itself, but the way it made me feel. Unsettled. Exposed. Too awake. I told myself it was just the isolation, the boredom, maybe a bit of curiosity. But it wasn't just that. I was married. I had no business feeling any of this. And yet the image lingered. The next day, I avoided him. I didn't need to say anything, but guilt clung to me, even though I hadn't done a thing. Still, I kept wondering, had he seen me at the door? Did he know I saw? Did he do it on purpose? That thought stirred something I didn't want to admit. The next night, I passed his door again. It was shut this time. No sounds. But I stood there for a moment anyway, as if expecting something. I didn't know what. By the third day, I wasn't just disturbed, I was distracted, restless. Every time he entered a room, I became hyper-aware. His movements, the scent of his skin after a shower, the curve of his back beneath a towel. It was all wrong, every bit of it. But I didn't try to push the feeling away. I didn't warn myself. I didn't pretend. I just watched. Quietly. And I told myself, as long as I didn't act on it, it didn't mean anything. That lie worked for a little while. Something had shifted. No one said anything, but I started noticing how often he was around. Not in an obvious way, but always there. In the kitchen, shirtless. On the couch, in sweatpants. Outside fixing something, muscles flexing like it meant nothing. More than once, I caught myself staring. Then quickly turned away, pretending I needed something from a drawer. Pretending I forgot to check the oven. It wasn't exactly about attraction. It was about attention. Being noticed after feeling invisible for so long. And then he started noticing too. I saw it in the way his eyes lingered. In the subtle smirk behind his smile. One afternoon, I found one of his t-shirts mixed into my laundry. I picked it up without thinking. Held it just a second too long. The scent was familiar, intimate, unfiltered. I folded it carefully, then tossed it into his room without knocking. I told myself it was just a chore, but I knew better. Later that week, we had dinner alone. He looked at me across the table and said, "You've been watching me lately." Just like that. No hesitation. No build-up. I laughed it off. Tried to deny it. But my voice betrayed me. "I noticed things," I said, careful not to meet his gaze for too long. He didn't press. Just smiled. Like he already knew. That night, his words echoed louder than I liked. The next day, I avoided being in the same room with him. But he found ways to close the distance. A casual comment. A glance that lingered. I started dressing differently. Not for him, I told myself. But I spent longer in front of the mirror. Picked outfits that hugged me in ways they never used to. When my husband called to say he'd be extending his trip again, I didn't even fake disappointment. I just said, okay, and turned off my phone for the night. Later, I was in the kitchen when he came in for water. Half naked, as usual. Unbothered. Confident. He moved too close. Leaned in when he didn't need to. I could feel the heat between us, but neither of us backed away. You didn't say anything that night, he said quietly. My breath caught. I didn't deny it. I just whispered. I didn't know what to say. He smiled. Stepped even closer. So, should I stop? Or should I keep going? My mind raced. But my body didn't move. I didn't answer. I just turned and left the room, heart pounding, hands trembling. But it wasn't fear. And it wasn't shame. It was something far more dangerous. Want. The kind that doesn't wait for permission. The kind that ignores vows, boundaries, titles. I knew then that whatever line had once existed between us, it was already fading. I tried to reset, to redraw that line in my head. But it didn't work. Everything felt too exposed now. Every glance, every word, every moment shared held weight. I caught him watching me, the way I had watched him. And there was no hiding it anymore. I didn't say anything. I didn't change my behavior. But inside, something had changed. I wasn't waiting for a moment. I was preparing for it. And he knew. He stopped pretending too. He left his door cracked now, like an invitation. When he passed me in the hallway, he didn't look away. He stared. He smirked. He slowed down. He didn't have to touch me to make his presence known. Every gesture was louder than words. And I let it happen. I made coffee. Set an extra cup on the counter, before he asked. Folded laundry, and left his clothes neatly on his bed, not in a basket. No words were exchanged. But we both understood. One night, I was watching a movie when he came in silently and sat beside me, not on the other end of the couch, but right next to me. His leg touched mine. I didn't move. He joked about the movie. I laughed, though I wasn't listening. I was counting the inches of space left between us. His arm brushed mine, then stayed there. I felt his breath as he leaned in. Neither of us said a word. Then he looked at me, close enough for me to see the shift in his eyes, and whispered, "You're not pretending anymore." I wanted to, I replied. But what's the point? He reached out, gently tucked my hair behind my ear. My heart pounded. But I didn't move away. My phone buzzed. I didn't even glance. I knew it was my husband. I silenced it without a word. We didn't kiss. We didn't cross the final line. But what passed between us was more intimate than anything physical. It was permission, acknowledgement, mutual. Later, after he went to bed, I sat alone in the dark replaying everything. I tried to convince myself it was just flirtation. A mistake. A fantasy. But I knew better. I wasn't just reacting anymore. I was craving it.